All right. Thanks for joining me today, Connor. I know you've got quite the busy training regimen on to prepare for your upcoming event, so can't thank you enough for making the time for me today.
Oh man, good to be here, James. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So before we dive into things, I'll just give a brief overview of who you are to some of our listeners who don't know. So Connor is a Queen's University Commerce graduate, which is how I initially found your story as I currently study there. And since graduating in 2018, Connor has become the youngest person in the world to complete an Ironman on 6 continents and will soon be the first person in the world to complete an Ironman on all 7 continents. And to make this world record happen, Connor is taking on Antarctica in less than a month's time, sometime in January. Is that correct?
Yeah, the end of January, so just over 30 days away.
That's incredible. A lot to unpack here in a short amount of time. So I want to start by getting a sense of what was going through your head in your last year of university. So what was your plan upon graduating Queens, and ultimately what got you to sign up for your first Ironman?
Yeah, so I think, it was actually a pretty challenging time, like fourth year university. A lot of my friends around me had kind of surefire offers on the table, and I didn't really have that. I was kind of going through the interview process, just kind of doing it and following in the steps, hoping that something would work out, but nothing I was really excited about. Um, and so I actually decided not to stress out on the recruitment process and plan a trip after university. And I think that's something that I wish somebody told me to just do earlier, because it alleviates a lot of pressure from being around people that are go interviewing. You have to get this dream job right out of university. And to me, I lined up a trip through Southeast Asia with three of my best friends for 3 months. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I think I learned a lot about myself and what I want to do with that time period. Um, so yeah, I mean, after I came back, I felt this new, like, refreshed, sense of let's go find a job now. And I got that out of my system and started reaching out to alumni and from Queens. And one of them worked at Uber. And we started chatting about possibly joining this new idea called Uber Eats. So at the time, it wasn't a huge thing, but lucky enough to join the Uber Eats team and help grow that platform before the big IPO, and led me to a lot of really cool opportunities. But to answer your question, I was kind of all over the place coming out of fourth year, not really sure of what's going to come afterwards, and really just bet on seeing the world and opening my mindset to what's possible.
So it sounds like you were in the same boat as a lot of us at Queens are now. There's a few of us, including me, who are doing the Southeast Asia this summer, so looking
Nice.
forward to that. But why don't you tell us about why you're chasing Antarctica? Why are you doing this Ironman? And what got you hooked on this vision to complete an Ironman in every single continent?
Yeah, so I grew up playing hockey. Was deciding between Queens and going to a school in the States for hockey. Long story short, decided to hang up the skates and was looking for something new. So me and a few friends tried out for the triathlon team at Queens. One of them couldn't swim, one of them's bike tire popped, and somehow I made the team and thought, this is pretty fun. And then one of the guys I was racing with head to head went off and did an Ironman and came 14th in the world for our age group at Kona. And his name's Ben Rudson, and I was just blown away. I said, no way that's even possible. And it just ignited this curiosity inside of me to see what I was capable of and if I could do that. And so I texted him in 2015 and I remember it was Christmas Day. And I said, by 2020, I'm going to do my first Ironman. And so that's what I did. I was working for Uber, like, it was great, cool job, but I had this itch in the back of my mind to, like, go and do something that I said I would do. And it was just always in the back of my mind. So long story short, I tried to transfer, ended up rejoining Uber in New Zealand, left the corporate world to kind of go on that journey, gave myself 6 months to do one Ironman. and thought it would be a one and done. 7 days later, the pandemic hit. I was stranded in New Zealand for 60 days, and it gave me time to think about what's next. And I think the lesson there is like, when you go and do something you previously thought was impossible, it opens your mind and threshold to something even bigger. And I read about this girl who did 7 ultra marathons on 7 continents named Jackie Bell. And I thought, has anybody ever done that for Ironman? And the youngest person at the time to do 6 was 32. I was 23. And I said, I don't know how, but this is what I'm going to do. And just went all in on this goal for the last 3 years now. So,
That's
yeah.
super cool. I want to dive deeper into your Arctic race, which is quickly approaching. So, I've been following you on Instagram, and I know you've been training out west in Vancouver, and I see that you're trying to simulate the Arctic conditions as closely as possible by, swimming in frozen water, biking on a fat bike, and completing marathons in frozen terrain. So, what's that experience been like for training for this type of event?
Yeah, it's been super hard, honestly. So many new challenges. The cold is a whole new beast. And people think you live in Canada, it must be easy to train in the cold, but Vancouver's pretty mild. So, like you said, I try to convince some crazy friends of mine to hike up to the mountains with me, cut lanes in frozen lakes, and try and get the coldest water we can to swim in. Of course, like safety is definitely number one concern, and we're doing all the right safety measures to make sure that it's all right. But yeah, I had to try and find other areas to simulate the conditions, and other kind of mechanisms I've tried are going to like a cold plunge facility and just spending time in cold tubs that can get to 1 or 2 degrees to try and acclimate my body to that. Or I have to look for other races around the world, or conditions to try and replicate Antarctica. So I recently went to Greenland. It's a really cool experience. It's called Kangerlussuaq. The whole city has 500 people, and there's just like reindeers running around, muskox. You're under the northern lights. It's one of the most northern places you can go to in the Arctic Circle. And I got to run in, I think it was -16 on the day, but temperatures, up to -20 degrees, with micro spikes on ice sheets, and really like simulate what the conditions will feel like. So yeah, it's been a huge puzzle piece trying to put all of this together. And I made some t-shirts that say make it happen on them. And I really believe like that's been a good mantra for me, is like, whatever it takes, find a way to make it happen. Nobody's going to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. And I think like with that mentality, when you believe in yourself so much, other people can pick up on that and they want to help you win. So if anything, my goal in all of this is to start believing in other people as well, and show them like, when you have that mindset, other people want to see you win as well. And yeah.
That's a great message. Um, I'm curious, what scares you the most about this race? You're obviously in some pretty crazy conditions. Is it maybe the polar bears or the seals or something else?
Um, if I'm being, fully honest, man, it's the feeling of what's next. I think when you have such a big goal and you work so hard to achieve it, um, you can feel pretty empty when it's completed. And, I felt after, doing the 6 Ironmans and becoming the youngest in the world, I'd feel this great sense of satisfaction, and, that I did it. I accomplished what I wanted to do. But I felt quite empty, honestly. And I think I have a different mindset going into this one. Um, but that same looming question of what's next. And I think I'm just realizing, there's always going to be another mountain to climb. There's always going to be a new challenge. And it doesn't necessarily have to be physical all the time. I think there's other goals I have. We're working on a documentary on the story that I've been really involved with. I'm writing a book, and there's a couple epic, big physical challenges that are lined up that I don't want to give away today, but coming in.
Awesome. You made a good point there. I mean, I've seen other people, and even in myself sometimes that it's common for people to continue pushing back the goalposts of what success kind of looks to them further and further back, kind of constantly trying to strive for this next big thing. So how do you manage to savor the feeling of accomplishment and fulfillment that comes with completing a race or achieving a goal, while also staying hungry to set new goals and take them on?
Yeah, I think like, the anything is always best when it's shared. And to me, each race I've tried to share it with somebody or um, celebrate somebody else as well. So for my final race, one of my good friends came down and did the race as well. And I trained him for like 6 months to get his first triathlon in the books. And I think like savoring a moment and reliving a moment is way more powerful when you can do it with somebody else. So anybody that's come to me for triathlon recommendations, I always say like find a buddy, find a friend, find a stranger, find whoever you can to like do it together. It's just going to feel so much better when you both win. So I think that really helps when accomplishing goals is you can have your personal goal and you can have your own drive and ambition, but can you find people to lift up as well and relish in that memory with them? um and then I think for like always thinking about what's next, I think it's just like becoming okay with that mentality and that feeling. I think that's the mentality of winners and champions is, and there's like a line that's like a champion is somebody who can win over and over and over again, and that's what makes them a champion. And I think like, if you know what you're doing is rewarding and you want to like continue with it, realize like there's always going to be more, there's always going to be something else to compare to, but if you can fall in love with the process and really enjoy what you're doing, um, you'll always savor the moments and always look forward to what's to come.
So I just want to dive a little deeper into the mental side of racing. So, as you know, Ironman triathlons come with quite a bit of sacrifice. I told you I did my last, or I did a 70.3 last summer, which is a half
Yeah.
Ironman for those who don't know. And you can't really say yes to as many things as you once maybe were able to, whether that's time with family or friends. So, my question to you is, what have you had to sacrifice to make this dream of yours come true?
Yeah. There's this famous runner, Elliot Kipchoge, right? The under two marathon guy. And his famous line is the only vitamin you need is vitamin N. And that's vitamin N stands for no, is learning how to say no to people. So I've tried to adopt that, and it can suck sometimes, being a social person, you want to be a yes man, you want to people please, you want to, do everything. And I'm definitely a culprit of that. I love having fun. I love like going out with people and, trying to take on as much as possible. But I think there comes a time in your life where you have a goal that you really need to be selfish in. And I think in order to really, really accomplish anything, you need to put yourself first. And you have to have that mindset of like, if you have a plate and you keep stacking your plate, it's eventually going to break. So you have to be honest with yourself on how much is on your plate and what you can really, accomplish. So for context, and I guess not a lot of people know this, but yeah, I lived in 10 places over the span of 18 months to do this goal. Friends' couches, just my brother's floor. Like I think it all looks like sunshine and rainbows, but I was working 3 jobs to try and afford, this dream of mine, and just really had this mentality of I was willing to do whatever it took to accomplish it. And I had to say no to a lot of friends. I had to say no to a lot of, you know, people in my life that I feel like I, didn't want to say no to, family even. But when you know what you're working towards and there's a time limit on that, people respect that, and you kind of learn quickly who the people you want in your corner are as well. So yeah, I think with any great, achievement comes lots of sacrifice.
Super inspiring. I want to ask you now what your favorite, if you have a favorite story from your Ironman journey so far. Maybe that's from a particular race or a highlight you can maybe mention.
Yeah, so I think Ironman Philippines was my worst race, but also the biggest learnings and the best stories. It was my
Probably
fifth
pretty
race.
hot, no?
Oh man, it was 40 degrees. It's like imagine running in a sauna. I lost 10 pounds in that race just from like pure heat exhaustion, went straight to the medics. But even getting to that race was one of the biggest challenges. I was originally scheduled for Ironman Taiwan, but they canceled the race due to the pandemic. And they told me 9 days before Ironman Philippines that I would get a slot into it. So I made anything happen to make it there. And then when I make it there with 3 days before the race, I realized my bike didn't make it there. So here I am stranded in Manila trying to find a bike that fits me for this race in less than 72 hours. And you have to check in 24 hours before your race. So I have 48 hours to find a bike, called every bike shop in the city. Um, and I was so close to renting a bamboo bike, like the city bikes, to do the race on because I was like, I'm so far, I can't not do it. But luckily, this one bike shop said they might have one. I went to the bike shop. He called his friend who was a basketball player because, like, I'm 6'3". The average height in the Philippines is like 5 feet. So they don't really make bikes in my frame. But they brought the bike in, stayed after hours to help fit it to me. It was the most hospitable thing I've ever experienced and a real testament to the Filipino culture, that they're just incredible people and they want everybody to win. And it's something that I'm trying to adopt is like, I love helping other people now and helping my friends win and helping strangers, believing in them. And yeah, long story short, that was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. And I'm still in close contact with the whole Philippine National Triathlon Club. And yeah, just a cool experience that's bigger than the sport.
That's a great story. Wow. Um, I would have been panicking quite a bit if I was in that situation, but the fact that people came in to help you is it's amazing. It's a great story. Um,
Mhm.
before we wrap things up, I have kind of two final questions for you, Connor. You'll be a world record holder by the end of January, and judging by who you are as a person, I'm gonna take a guess that you're not gonna be done there. What comes next for you after this final Ironman to complete 7 continents?
Yeah, to me, I think it's just a launch pad of what's to come. I think in the future, I'd love to write a book and do some public speaking around the world on chasing your dream, believing in yourself, believing in others, and what it takes to accomplish something that matters to you. So that's kind of what I see in terms of career path in the near future. And then yeah, there's some pretty epic challenges that I have on the radar that I'm looking forward to. Um, One might be a row across the Atlantic Ocean, and there's a couple other ones that we're in the works on. But I think the exciting thing for me is like incorporating a team. Triathlon is it's a very lonely sport, so I think if you can do something where you incorporate a team and win together, like I said, it would just be that much more memorable.
You said you're currently working on the documentary. Have that kind of seems like a team event in some way. Has it been cool to have them along your side throughout this training experience?
100%. Yeah, I think, it's pretty rare to document your life. And I feel really honored that like I have good people around me that want to document this story and, believe in me, even a fraction of the amount I believe in myself. But I've also been, able to meet a lot of really inspiring people. Two of my mentors are this guy named John Ragg and Elizabeth Modal. and he's done 273 Ironmans, the most in the world. And she's one of two women to do over 100 Ironmans, and they've both done every single one that's ever existed. So really learning from the best. And I think when you meet somebody, you think their story is crazy, but then they know somebody who's even crazier, right? And it's just this never ending domino effect of, breaking the stigma of what's possible, and realizing that we are limitless if we can believe we can achieve something. So um yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I don't know all the answers, and I don't have a magic wand. So it's just the continuing belief and almost delusional optimism that you're going to will your goal into existence.
That's wild. That many Ironmans. Holy, how did they do that?
Yeah, the craziest part is his first one was when he was 38 years old.
Oh my
So
God.
too late to start.
That's nuts. And has anyone, I guess, I think I saw that one other person has attempted the Arctic, or maybe one other person's completed it. How have any other people attempted it?
Not to my knowledge. So yeah, there's one guy named Anders Hoffman that's done a triathlon in Antarctica. And I've been able to speak to him, and an incredible human being. But yeah, so the difference, I guess, between him and I is one, his took like over 72 hours, so 3 days. I'm going to try and do it one day. And I'd be on 7 continents, not one continent. So slightly different, but still incredibly inspiring. And his film comes out free to the public, called Project Iceman, I think tomorrow. So worth a watch for anybody listening to this.
That's awesome. All right, Connor, I got one last question. I've been asking a lot of people I've talked to about this question because it resonates. What advice do you have for someone maybe in my position who's in university or about to graduate and not really sure about what is next or what they want to do after university?
Yeah, I'd say the most simple one is do hard things that scare you a little bit, because that's really the only way to grow. It could be a race, could be, calling a stranger, calling somebody to look up to, reaching out on LinkedIn to jump on a phone call, or grab a coffee, or, just learn about their life or shadow them or whatever it is. And then two, I'd say, is create a bucket list if you haven't. I think it's this easy concept, that we all should do more of, and review it. It's like, what are the things you actually want to accomplish, and not just business or like life, but like, is there a country you really want to go to? Is there a challenge you want to do? Is there a person you want to meet? Is there anything in the world that you want? Like, when you think about it, just write it down, because when you write it down, you're so much more likely to achieve it. And then the step after you write it down is to share it with one person, because then that creates a little bit of accountability. So I'd say create a bucket list, and, have it on your phone, have it on a notepad, wherever it is that you can keep revisiting, but you plant those seeds early in your life. And then life mystically happens, and one day you're going to realize, wow, I actually did that thing. And, maybe you'll cross it off and go for the next one.
Some good advice. I'll get to my bucket list after this call. But thanks so much, Connor, for chatting with me this morning.
Good. I want to see it.
No, this conversation's been really inspiring, and I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of people in and around my age. And I'm excited to follow your journey to Antarctica on Instagram, and best of luck with your training.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me. And, it's always great to see what Queen's students are up to. So excited to follow along the podcast, and, stay in touch, man. All the best.
Thanks, man. And just before you go, where can people continue to follow you? Would you recommend Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn, or I have a website called www.chasingantarctica.com. So you can learn a little bit more about the story, or see a little sizzle reel for our video that we're creating. And if you're in a position to have a little fundraiser link there, that's trying to help me get there. So yeah, but just send me a note, say hi. Love meeting new people, and yeah, dare to dream.